students, myself Pinky Singh, Assistant Professor of IMS Law College, and today I'll tell you about the law relating to probation and parole in Indian context. Basically, this both terms, probation and parole, are related with the punishment. Like, punishment is the community's resolution to the damages it encounters through offenses. Penalties, imprisonment, and in a few cases, compensation are the foremost journal strategies of sentence dispensed to criminal wrongdoers by the community through the criminal justice system in this country. So, this can be contrary to torts and civil law, in which damages is paid by one person or association to a different person. So there are so many unimaginable efforts are placed into the legislative and judicial offices to govern what sentence is appropriate for different offenses depending on their nature and heinousness. So parole and probation are very important tools used for restructuring of the offenders. They are used as stability of not being severe and not soft. So now start with the introduction. While infliction of punishment has as its objective the suffering of the offender, probation is intended at reformation and resocialization in line with the reform of the penal system. So it is guided by the belief that many offenders are not dangerous criminals but have acted in misfortune, improvidence, misguidance, and have landed in conflict with law. It is an alternative to imprisonment and is considered the most viable sentencing option for juveniles, young offenders, first time and petty offenders. In India, the criminal justice system is characterized by long detention in the pre-trial and trial stage. The large majority of the total prison population are remand prisoners awaiting trial or on trial. So, the primary objective of the criminal justice system is to reform the criminals rather than punishing them, or to provide a socialized penal device for supporting this principle of reformation. So, probation is an alternative to a prison. It is suspension of sentence of an offender by the court and releasing him on certain conditions to live in the community with or without the supervision of probation officer. So basically, section 562 of the Code of Criminal Procedure 1898 stated that any convicted not under the age of 21 years punishable with imprisonment of 7 years or less, or any convict under the age of 21 years, or any woman not punishable with life imprisonment or the death penalty, can be released on probation of good conduct. So this particular system was introduced in India in 1958, by passing the Central Probation Act. Though Section 562 of the CRPC 1898 permitted release of an offender on probation, but it applied only to juvenile delinquents and first offenders. So basically, this paved the way for the enactment of the Probation of Offenders Act by the Parliament on May 16, 1958. Eventually, Section 562 of the Code of Criminal Procedure 1898 was repealed by Section 19 of the Act. And in India, in spite of the shift in penal philosophy from deterrence to reformation, with the passing of the Probation of the Offenders Act by the Indian legislature in 1958 and amendment of CRPC provision section 562 into section 360, large numbers of young, first time and petty offenders continue to form the main bulk of overcrowding figures in prison population of the country. The effective use of probation can prevent the unending wait of many offenders who could otherwise avail the benefits of non-custodial treatment. So, the provision under the Probation of Offenders Act are premised on the philosophical presupposition that the release of offender on probation under supervision will result in a probable reduction of crime and reformation of the offender. So the framework within which this supervision based reform and reintegration is carried out is referred to as probation. this act applies to offenders of all age groups, including repeat offenders not charged with life imprisonment. Next, what is the meaning of probation? So, under the Black's Law Dictionary, it defines the term probation as a court imposed criminal sentence that, subject to stated conditions, releases a convicted person into the community instead of sending the criminal to jail or prison. Further, probation, in which the offender agrees to certain conditions or restrictions and reports only to the sentencing judge rather than a probation officer. However, this word probation is derived from a Latin word probatum, which means the act of proving. The word probation is derived from a Latin word probo, which means I prove my worth, and probatio, which means test of approval, to examine whether a person can live in the society without breaking the law. Thus, probation means the act of proving the worth and building a character worthy to be released. Like probation, we can say that probation is an alternative to imprisonment, which allows a convicted defendant to go free with a suspended sentence for a specified duration or a specific period of time on executing a bond with or without sureties for maintaining the good behavior and keeping peace. So probation is the period during which a person, means the probationer, may be placed under the supervision of a probation officer, and this probationer, this person must fulfill certain conditions. Like, however, the historical development of the concept of probation was highly influenced by the introduction of the juvenile justice system and the concept of positivism in criminal jurisprudence. So the English and the American courts, they practiced a conditional release known as release on recognition, which allowed the convicts to be released on certain conditions as prescribed by the courts and await their trial. Thus, we can say that this probation means discharging a convict subject to the regularity of conduct and good behavior by imposing certain conditions upon his release. And this convict is released only upon entering into a bond and under the supervision of the probation officer. So, this probation is based upon the scientific approach of reformation, where it is seen that imprisonment is unnecessary, keeping in mind the age, character, and nature of the offender. Under the Code of Criminal Procedure 1973, the release on probation is dealt under Section 360. Now, what are the laws related to the probation in India? So, basically, the Probation of Offenders Act 1958 is based on the individualistic approach to the convicts and dealing with young offenders in an amicable manner. It is believed that young offenders can be stopped from becoming habitual offenders if probation is allowed to them. So, this act aims to provide for the release of offenders on probation or upon due admonition and all the matters connected therewith. So, the probation services in India are being regulated by Probation of Offenders Act 1958 and Section 360 of Code of Criminal Procedure, which allows release of the offender on probation on fulfilling certain conditions in lieu of his or her stay in prison on conviction. So, this particular section, it contains this act contains 19 sections and it extends to the whole of India except the state of Jammu and Kashmir. And the Probation of Offenders Act 1958 provides for care, protection, treatment, and rehabilitation of delinquent and neglected juveniles, makes the juvenile justice system more responsive to the developmental needs of the juvenile. So this act aims to provide a reformative system of reform to of offenders and convert them into useful and law-abiding citizens of the country. So, like section 562 of the CRPC, the old Act 1898, was the earlier provision which dealt with the probation. However, after the amendment in the year 1974, it became the section 360, and it states that when any person not under 21 years of age is convicted of an offence punishable with fine only or with imprisonment for a term of 7 years or less, or when any person under 21 years of age or any woman is convicted of an offence not punishable with death or imprisonment for life, and no previous conviction is proved against the offender, if it appears to the court before which he is convicted regard being had to the age, character or of the offender and to the circumstances in which the offence was committed, that it is expedient that the offender should be released on probation of good conduct. So basically, under section 360 of the CRPC, the new Act 1973, the benefits of probation can only be given to the first time offenders, while section 4 of the Probation of Offender Act allows the benefit for probation to repeat and the petty offenders as well. So, in addition, the section 361 of the CRPC further specifies the duty of the judge, such as declaring and recording the reasons why the benefits of probation have not been provided to a young offender. So, clearly, these provisions strengthen the probation. Now, what are the history of the particular act? Like in 1934, the government of India informed the provincial governments to enact their own legislations on probation. The state of Madras, this was the first to adopt this probation after the enactment of the Madras Probation of Offenders Act in 1936, which was the first Probation of Offenders Act in India. So later, this was replaced by the Central Act known as the Probation of Offenders Act 1958. The Act introduced comprehensive measures regarding probation to be implemented and applicable to the whole country. The Act calls for a social investigation report by courts from the probation officers in respect of all offenders below 21 years of age. It also imposes restriction on the imprisonment of offenders below 21 years of age, and if such offender deserves, in the eyes of the judge, to be sent to prison, reasons for doing so have to be recorded by the judge. So, in the year 1958, the legislature enacted this Probation of Offenders Act, which brought to the fore the significance and importance of non-custodial measures such as probation in the field of criminal law. The Act presents consolidated provisions and information regarding probation, where it can be applied and who can benefit from it. And it is the only legal document in India that deals specifically with the concept of probation and how it ought to be implemented. It states that first time young and repeat offenders who have not committed any crime punishable with death or imprisonment for life are entitled to benefit from the act and ought to be released either after admonition or on probation without supervision or under the supervision of probation officer. Additionally, the Act outlines the roles of the probation officer and the magistrate who are entrusted with the responsibility of ensuring the implementation of probation work when an offender is given the benefit of the Act. Now, what are the objective of the Act? So, the paramount objective of the Act is to prevent young offenders from converting into habitual offenders. Prior to this Act, there were no laws on probation in India or in the states. Hence, this Act provides uniform provisions on the release of offenders on probation in India. There has been a need to develop a reformative structure and a rehabilitation mechanism in the criminal jurisprudence for the offenders and make them self-sufficient and responsible citizens of the society. Imprisonment has an adverse impact on the mental situation of the convict, which restricts his opportunity to improve. This act intends to provide the offender with the possibility and scope of improving his behavior and conduct so as to lead a respectful life thereafter. So, there has been a need to develop a reformative structure and a rehabilitation mechanism in the criminal jurisprudence. So, when an amateur offender or a first time offender is put into jail, the chances of his rehabilitation are reduced massively, and it also prevents persons of mature age but who are first time offenders from the bad influence of others and who can be expected to make good citizens of this nation. So, such cases have the opposite effect of imprisonment rather than what it was meant for. So there's a particular case, Arvind Mohan Sinha versus Mulya Kumar Bishwa. This was the case of the year 1974, and in this case, Supreme Court stated that the act is a reformative measure and its object is to reclaim amateur offenders who can be rehabilitated. Now, under this Probation of Offenders Act, what are the power and obligation of probation officer? So, Section 14 of the Probation of Offenders Act 1958 indicates that there are following duties of the probation officer which they have to follow, inquire in accordance with any direction of a court into the circumstances or home surroundings of any person accused of an offence with a view to assist the court in determining the most suitable method of dealing with him and submitting reports to the court. So this is the first duty of the probation officer, that he has to provide his report to the court if he is dealing with any particular offender who is a minor person, or if he is not a minor or he is a major. Next, probation officer, they have to supervise probationers and other persons placed under his supervision and where necessary and where to find them suitable employment, and to advise and assist offenders in the payment of compensation or any cost if it is ordered by the court. They can also advise and assist in such cases and in such manner as may be prescribed or the persons who have been released under Section 4. And they can also perform such other duties as may be prescribed under this act, or if it is necessary to do or to follow if it is the direction given by the concerned court. Now, next, preparing a pre-sentence report. So, one of the most important duties of a probation officer interested in the Section 14 subclause A of the particular act is the preparation of a pre-sentence report for the guidance of the court whether to grant the benefit of probation to the accused or not. So, for the purpose of Section 14 subclause A, the probation officer shall, after making inquiries regarding the offender's character, his social condition, financial bastion to the accused or not, and other circumstances of his family, will put down relevant facts, information in the report as required by the court. So, the summary of the case shall include a statement of facts along with the probation officer's assessment of the case to help the court to determine the most suitable method of dealing with offender after he has been found guilty, and this report shall be treated as confidential and delivered to the court on the date specified by it, and it must be enclosed in a sealed cover if delivered to the court a day prior of the judgment. So, if the probation officer considers the probationer has made sufficient progress and further supervision is not needed, he shall make an application to the court in consultation with the district probation officer under intimation of the chief probation superintendent for discharging the bond under subsection 3 of the section 8 of the Probation of Offenders Act. So after that, there's one more thing, visiting and checking on probationers. So the probationer officer may, subject to any provisions of the supervision order, require the probationer to report to him at the stated intervals and meet him frequently to ensure that the stipulations of the rules of the order are followed. And the probation officer shall visit the probationer periodically in his home surroundings or his occupational environment in order to assess the progress made by him and difficulties he or she faced during such probation officer. So additionally, the probation officer has to keep a track of the juvenile and maintain a follow-up action even after the completion of the supervision period. Ultimately, the probation officer strives to bring a change to the behavior of the offender and motivate him or her to make a progress towards his or her successful rehabilitation in the community. Now, next is the Juvenile Justice Act. So, in addition to the above discussed provision, which I already told you and discussed here, related to the Probation of Offenders Act, this Juvenile Justice Act empowers the probation officers to assist the Juvenile Justice Board while making decisions or passing orders with regard to the juvenile and advise him during the probation period so that they fulfill their promises not to re-offend again. So under section 12 of the Juvenile Justice Act, the probation officer's report is sought by the Juvenile Justice Board whilst entertaining a bail application and also at the time of final disposal of the case. So, the purpose of the report is to examine the juvenile's background and identity and identify the reason for committing the offense, though the probation officer's report has only recommendatory value, and this Juvenile Justice Board takes this report into consideration prior to taking any decision in respect of the judgment of the juvenile. Furthermore, the probation officer has to do a follow-up on juveniles after their release to continue providing guidance to them and visiting their residence. And under the Juvenile Justice Act, the duties of a probation officers are not as comprehensive as in the Probation of Offenders Act, but there are certain similarities such as investigation and preparation of offenders profile that is subject to release on probation. So, this Juvenile Justice Act empowers the probation officers with the following roles like obtaining the information regarding the juvenile's family background and any other material circumstances to assist the board in preparing a social investigation report on the juvenile and preparing further report regarding the necessity, nature and period of aftercare, and they can also supervising a juvenile either pending inquiry by the board or on a final order passed by the board on finding that the juvenile has committed an offense or after the juvenile is discharged from the special home. So this is basically about the probation and the particular laws and the rules and the duties regarding the probation officers. Now I'll tell you about the parole. So like parole is the reforming process for prisoners to help them to come into the mainstream of life. It is an instrument for social rehabilitation of the prisoner. Judicial stand on parole and various court decisions. So parole is a major correctional process in jail reforms. It is the like part of consideration granted to the prisoners to help them to come back into the mainstream of life. It is a tool for social rehabilitation of the prisoner. In recent times, the concept of parole being utilized by the highly influential class to escape the prison sentence. Thus, we have so many examples that are enjoying their free life even after committing inhumane offenses and convictions. So, like parole is a release of prisoner either temporarily for a special purpose or completely before the expiry of a sentence on the promise of good behavior. Such a promise is known as a word of honor provided in the parole order. So, this word parole is derived from the French word je donne ma parole. It means I give my word, the word of honor. This word was used by the prisoners of war for their release by giving promise to the captor. Therefore, in simple words, we can say that parole is the premature condition, temporary release of a prisoner on the terms of abiding by the conditions along with the observance of certain restrictions to avail the privilege of returning back to the society and socialize with family and friends, keeping in mind correctional theory and preparing to return back to his social life. So, like this term, parole was first coined in a correctional context in 1847 by Samuel G. Howe, a Boston penal reformer. This word was used by the prisoners of war. I already told you. And like it is mere suspension of the sentence for time being, keeping the quantum of sentence intact. So, parole is the conditional release of an offender who has already served a portion of his sentence in a correctional institution. While on parole, the released prisoner remains in the custody and under the supervision of the paroling authority. And the period of parole may be as long as the time the prisoner would otherwise have served in the institution, or it may be terminated earlier. Now, what are the objective of parole? So, in the absence of any particular specific provision in the Code of Criminal Procedure regarding the parole, the judgments of the Supreme Court and the various high courts, as well as the rules framed in various states regulating the grant of parole, has led to the development of parole system in India. And now this parole become an integral part of criminal justice system in India. Like the main objective of the parole is to persuade the humanitarian access to the prison system. It permits the convict to go out of prison for a short period, which in turn eases their progress to a beneficial citizen. It is important to know that parole is a courteous act and cannot be preserved as the right. Parole can also be termed as an essential reformative method for the convicts, which is vital as they still are very much part of the society. As per the existing system, each judgment above 18 months is qualified for parole after completion of one third of the jail period. So, in a particular case, Shakuntala Devi versus State, the Division Bench of Delhi High Court has emphasized that under our constitution, deprivation of personal liberty as penal policy is purposive because the imprisonment of the criminal is sanctioned as a measure of social defense and individual rehabilitation. So basically, the focus of interest in penology is the individual, and the goal is salvaging him for society. So time to time, the apex court has held that all aspects of the criminal justice fall under the umbrella of Articles 14, 19, and 21 of the Constitution. Further, apex court has sought to humanize prison administration to some extent through its various pronouncements, and it has also laid great emphasis on the right of a prisoner of the integrity of his physical person and mental personality. So, the apex court views sentencing as a process of reshaping a person who has deteriorated into criminality, and the modern community has a primary stake in the rehabilitation of the offenders as a measure of social defense. Now, what are the kinds of parole? Like there are two particular kinds of parole: custody parole and regular parole, and to which a particular convict is eligible. So, this custody parole can be granted in emergent situations and circumstances only, such as death of a family member, marriage of the family member, serious illness of a family member, or in any emergent circumstances. And during the custody parole, the prisoner has to be escorted to the place of visit and return there from, ensuring the safe custody of the prisoner. Such prisoner would be deemed to be in prison for the particular period of time, and the same would be treated as period spent in prison. So, in all other situations, it is open to the government to consider applications for regular parole. Some of the grounds on which the applications of the prisoner may be entertained, like serious illness of a family, critical condition in a family, marriage, delivery of a child by the wife, and if there are no other family member to take care of the spouse at home, to maintain the family and the social ties, or to pursue the filling of special leave petition before the Supreme Court, So these are the basic reasons. Now, whose power to grant the payroll? So the power to grant payroll is essentially the function of the executive, and to consider the request made by the prisoner for his release on payroll is the prerogative of the executive only, and the rules have been framed in every state regulating the grant of payroll, and every prisoner before his entitlement of his release on payroll has to meet certain eligibility criteria. So, like as per the parole or the furlong guidelines, in order to be eligible for release on parole, a convict must have served at least 1 year in prison, excluding any period covered by readmission. The conduct in prison must have been uniformly good. During the period of parole, if granted earlier, the convict should have not committed any crime, and the convict should have not have violated any terms and condition of the parole granted previously. A minimum of 6 months ought to have elapsed from the date of termination of the earlier parole. So, further, in the following cases, parole would ordinarily not be granted except if in the discretion of the competent authority special circumstances exist for grant of parole. So, like if prisoner is convicted of murder after rape, and if the prisoner is convicted for murder and rape of children, and if the prisoner is convicted for multiple murders, so the period of release on parole shall not ordinarily exceed 1 month at a time except in special circumstances, and the government shall decide the period of release on the merits of each case for reasons to be specified in the order granting the payroll. So now, what are the practice and procedure of granting the payroll? So, parole is granted to a prisoner in certain special circumstances, and it is subjected to certain limitations and conditions imposed by releasing authority. The underlying idea behind the concept of parole is the realization by the society that the man behind the bars is still the member of his family and society, that he has the same human wants, urges, duties, and obligations. So, the rehabilitative purpose of sentencing would be promoted by permitting him to fulfill those basic human needs and social duties by occasionally permitting him to live for short periods in his home as well as in the community where he has his roots. So, there are certain recognized circumstances under which the parole is usually granted if a member of a prisoner's family dies or becomes seriously ill. I already told you all the grounds, and there are certain categories of convicts or prisoners, they are not eligible for being released on parole, like if the prisoners involved in the offenses against the state, or they are threat to the national security, terrorism, non-citizens of India, or if people convicted of murder, rape of children, multiple murders. So if an application is made by the prisoner for granting parole is not released on parole, then the prisoner or convict can file a writ petition through the lawyer or an advocate in the Honorable High Court seeking relief of parole. So now, next is, what are the judicial attitude? What are the judicial pronouncement? So the courts in India have generally favored the view that the prisoners who have been incarcerated or kept in prison without trial for a long period of time should be released on parole to maintain the unity of family. So there are number of cases, but I'll tell you about 2 or 3 cases. Like in Babulal Das versus State of West Bengal, Honorable Mr. Justice Krishna Iyer of the Supreme Court, though in the context of the preventive detention, observed about the need for parole. Thus, he said, it is fair that persons kept incarcerated and without trial should be given some chance to reform themselves by reasonable recourse to parole power under Section 15 of the Maintenance of Internal Security Act 1971. Like the next case is Veeram Chenani Raghuvendra versus State of Andhra Pradesh. In this case, Supreme Court ruled that the release on parole and suspension of sentence during pendency of appeal in Supreme Court is liable to be struck down, being ultra vires the statutory powers of the state government. In Kesar Singh versus State of Himachal Pradesh, High Court laid down that the exercise of power of releasing a prisoner on parole must not be looked upon as an act of charity, compassion, or clemency, but as an act in the discharge of a legal duty required to be performed upon the fulfillment of the prescribed condition to effectuate a salutary purpose. Now, Charanjit Lal versus State of Delhi. So, in this case, High Court pointed out that the remission by way of reward or otherwise cannot cut down the sentence to less than a minimum period of 14 years. However, that does not mean that even a life convict falling within the ambit of section 433A cannot be set free on parole. So, there is no reason when even the life convicts who are hit by mischief of section 433A be not released off and either on parole or of course or to their undergoing at least 14 years of actual imprisonment. So now we will move on the conclusion. Like, uh, like in spite of the extensive uses of probation, parole, and other communal authorization, there still remains an argument about the efficiency of such usage. The practical indication specify that some correctional approvals, such as rigorous regulation, electric monitoring, shock probation, and other control-oriented practices, do not reduce repetition. These approvals may achieve another penalty area, such as dipping jail flocking, but reoffending is typically the most significant standards by which communal correctional agendas are restrained. So, the purpose of probation is reform of the offender by means that are alternative to punishment, such as admonition, constructive treatment, conditions of good conduct, and supervision, rather than punishment and incarceration, by which offenders, instead of being sent to jail, are put under the care of a probationer officer by the court, thus saving them from stigma and influences of hardened criminals. Like freedom and liberty of conscience should be the concept of parole and establish societal love and acceptance. Inconsistent orders based on irrelevant grounds, false police reports, misuse of power and position should avoided in parole. It is important to review the existing system and procedures of parole and give serious consideration so that the deserved should uh, not be rejected. So the provisions of parole, like they are not well known by common men and often considered to be quite cumbersome. Awareness was possible after media highlighted about the grant of parole in high profile cases. So, this is all about the law relating to the probation and parole in the Indian context. Thank you, student, for listening me.